100% you control the negativity with these arrows. In your lives, it's not a big deal. It won't be a problem. Don't be in a panic about this. So that's how to implement. And I think I'll just go on and finish, and then if there's any questions, we can talk about it. So this is the heart part of it, and this is a direct quotes from Swami, but I went a little deeper because that's my personality, and Anju and I, yesterday, between her understanding of the language and my internet searches, I wanted to go a little bit deeper on the meanings maybe. So this gets a little bit tricky, kind of, you know, adding our own masala maybe, but we'll see, you know, we're just grinding. We're grinding here. So the first arrow, there's a lot on the first arrow because the first arrow is in around the petals of the Sri Chakra. And they're also in the top of the womb chakra, and they're in many yantras. So there's actually a lot of Swami information on those. And here's a quote: on the Sri Chakra, the petals are the angel channels. It's higher energetically than the center point. Shiva's energy is in the bijas. Shiva's commander of the angels. Angels create the protection circles. Key point. And with them, the miracle energy starts. So here we have the protection, you know, right in the first arrow. Another quote: as we know in the first section of Sri Chakra petals, Yamatara Jabana Salagam, Yama is there. Yama, switch it. It becomes Maya. Yama means death. Maya means illusion. Cannot escape, cannot escape. You can divert it to somewhere else. So that was in I got that from a transcript that Mayuri had given in 2013 called Shiva's Cosmic Energy. So that's another clue. You can divert, you know, so we have the protection circles, and then we have diverting, right? From Swami's words. And then Anju found some quotes too. Anybody can easily chant these bijaksharas. They can remember them very easily. Their vibrations will help a lot. You can really heal a person. You can help a person with many troubles in their business, with their family problems, with their mental stress and psychiatric problems, all the negativity that happens in their lives. The bijaksharas in the first prayer of 9 arrows is part of Sri Chakra representing angels. The first 2 bijas, Yama, represent air element and fire element. Ta bija is where your heart chakra is receiving the Sri Chakra energy. These are Swami quotes. There's a connection between Sri Chakra, Holy Womb Chakra, and JC Yantra and Universal Womb Chakra. Elements are in all 3 yantras through the first line. These 10 bijas are the inner and outer elements. One element is needed to do miracles. No creation is possible without them. Life and death, silence. So in that first arrow, we have, you know, a lot going on right there, right? We have the inner and outer elements, and we have the angel protection, and we have diverting the energy. We have quite a lot. Okay, so the next part, the rest of the arrows, there's, you know, if the info is out there from Swami, you know, I didn't find it in a week. Maybe it'll bubble up later on. I don't know. But this was Anju and I yesterday just brainstorming from her understanding of the language in my internet searches. So Om Namo is I bow to, right? And Nam, we weren't sure. It could be bringing that energy in, not sure about that. So everyone starts with Om Namo Nam. Second arrow, Namah Shivaya. Pretty easy, right? 5 elements, Shiva energy. And I want also everyone to remember that Ramakrishna had said that Swami said these were Shiva's gems. So all 9 arrows has a kind of a Shiva theme, if we go with that. And that's kind of what we went with, okay? So we're not saying that this is gospel, but this is grinding. We're grinding the, you know, if anybody else has any input after this, maybe you can speak up. Om Namo Narayana, that's pretty easy. Vishnu, energy. The fourth one, Nandini Rupi. So Nandini is, well, you know, this is what we went with, right? Because every word, all words have lots of different definitions, right? Even in English language, but it brings in a feminine Nandi. That's what we, Nandini, the feminine, the cow rather than the bull, right? Okay, and then that's Shiva's soulmate right there. Nandi is Shiva's soulmate. And Rupi means in form. So fifth one, Naga Tantu Raksha. So Naga is that, now the Nagas are those semi-divine, half human, half cobras. They have them at the ashram by Ganesh. And I believe they're protection energy. That's my understanding. I could be, you know, someone else could pipe in about that. Tantu is a connection cord, and Raksha is protection. So here we have the connection cord between the Naga energy and the protection energy. And then we have Naga Bharana Raksha, and that's the protection of the snake. So Bharana means adornment. And so we have like, you know, Shiva's what he's wearing, the cobras, right? So that's a kind of protection too, right? And so that's what we got with that one. Calling on, you know, the protection of Shiva and his Nandi and his cobras that adorn his neck and like that. So the seventh one, Namshakaraksha, not sure. Didn't get anything on that. Maybe somebody else has something. The eighth one, Nagavajra Tanturaksha. So Vajra is that very male energy, the diamond or the thunderbolt in, you know, the Vajra in Tibetan Buddhism is that little thunderbolt thing that you hold. Got the bell and the Vajra. I used to have one, but I don't anymore. So that brings in that really strong, like masculine, cuts through, diamond, you know, like really cutting through energy. And then the ninth, and this is a really interesting insight from Anju and so, you know, we'll see. I mean, we're just grinding it, right? But I liked it. Mama Vishwam Bhasmasura Garladara Raksha. Bhasmasura was a demon, and this is, you know, this is historical. So he was a historical demon, and Garla refers to that poison that Shiva is holding in his throat. So that comes from the churning of the ocean story. And so this is what Anju said yesterday. I thought it was brilliant, in all honesty. So if Shiva spits out the poison, the outer world ends, right? And if he swallows it, then the inner world ends and he dies, right? That means we all die. We're in his creation, in his illusion. So here what we're doing is we're calling on Shiva to please continue to hold the poisons for us so that we may live. I thought that was kind of cool. And that is our presentation.
That was amazing. Thanks, Doreen. That was great. I mean, I'm sorry, Doreen's group.
So Doreen, what's the mechanism for implementing and using the bijas or the arrows? What are caution points about using the arrows so that people know how to properly use it?
Okay, well, I'm not sure if you heard, but I did give that, and I'll say it again. But The caution point is that you have to know all 9 arrows before you can use them. That's the only caution point I can think of. So you have to really have them, you know, like, for instance, I used to carry them in my car written before I really had them down. So that if I had a situation when I was out in the world and I needed them, I would grab the paper and I would read through, and then you know, it's easy enough to just to do one, right? So if you're using it in an acute situation, again, you're reading through or you're reciting, it's internal, it's in your head, all 9 arrows, and then you're letting one arise and using that one until you feel, if you know how to work with the energy and you know how to follow energy, you can follow the energy. If you don't, then you just do the rules, right? Use one at a time, and then you feel like, okay, I think I need another one. For me, it just kind of arises. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Namah Shivaya is the one that actually I tend to start with probably 90% of the time. I don't know why, it's not something I'm thinking about. And then maybe Om Namo Nam Narayana comes up. Or if I'm in a really powerful, like, oh my God, you know, I'm in a protest and people are starting to fight with each other, I'm probably going to do that ninth one. Or maybe I might recite all 9, you know, over and over, right? So it just depends on the situation. And the only caution point I found was that you have to know them before you start to use them, right? So we're all in a learning process. Now I have them, you know, I would recommend actually doing that new moon process, because then you really do get them in your soul. Once you get them in your soul, and you can really start using them really powerfully. Swami had us doing them a lot. He would say, go to the JC garden and run the 9 arrows when we really needed to move some big energy. And my personal experience with them is that they work, and they work quick. I've never had them not work, ever. So does that answer your question, Paul?
Yeah, a couple of points. Great presentation. Sorry that my technology's not been very supportive, but that's par for the course.
No
So
worries.
there are 2 aspects of the 9 arrows. One is charging them, and you cycle through all 9 arrows, right? And then there's the other part of it, which
Yeah.
is when you're implementing or using them, right?
Right, yeah, so maybe you might have been moving your computer when I went through that.
Okay.
And that was presented, yeah.
Okay,
The
great.
2 different parts of it, the charging them and then the implementation of them. Mhm.
Yeah, so the reason why I say that, and probably we'll get to Susan's question in a second. When you're implementing, you never use all 9 arrows, right? You mentioned that, correct?
I didn't see that in my research. I saw that when you're using them for a student, you keep one in reserve. That's what I found.
Right.
Now, of course, I'm not saying I have all the truth, because I know you and Mohini were there when they were given. So most of my information came from the Sai Shakti healing book. But yeah, so he was saying that you can use 9 arrows thousands of times for your students, but never use all 9 for one student. Keep one in reserve.
Right. So if you're using
So
it,
that was specifically saying when you're using it for a student.
yeah, for a student or a particular situation, imagine you got nine arrows in your quiver and you're using it, you know? And the reason why Swami said is because you always keep one in reserve. You know, it's like you do the first arrow, you send it to the person. Okay, you do that for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay, it doesn't work. So you move to a second arrow and the third arrow or fourth arrow, right? So like the first or the second one, Om Namo Namah Shivaya, right? You can use that on one person. Boom, 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 boom. But when you're charging it yourself, or you're in a situation where you're in, there's a bunch of negativity, then you can just kind of do it yourself. You're charging and you're pulling that energy. It's like you're pulling that energy for yourself. There's no limit to that, and reciting it. And then but when you're using it, sometimes when people, I think what Swami wanted to do was he wanted to have people avoid throwing out all the energy in your reservoir with all 9 arrows. So they're like, you can imagine like an arrow, boom, Om Namo Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Nam Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Nam Namah Shivaya, like that. You can focus it on a situation, a student, a person, negativity, like that. And then you can cycle it around, but you never want to use all 9 of it. That's how I understand it. Any clarification, Mohini and Ms. Trahan?
No, that's accurate. So how I've always done it is before I send the arrows, I run through them all and then start with one arrow for whatever particular situation is happening or whatever for what you're using it for. And then the other point I thought Jonathan, when he taught him, when you are using or doing the new moon mantra or process, you can you run through all of the arrows and then you start. Now, he said you can do one mala for each one, or you can do all 9, a mala of all 9. So what I usually do is I do a mala, I run all 9 and I do the mala of that. So I used to do it where I was doing all the 9 with one mala each and stuff. And then I started going, this is taking me a long, long time to do that. And I'd go off into a trance and never be able to finish. So what I do now is I do a mala of all 9 for the new moon process. And it is it's a very powerful, I've used the 9 arrows for a long time. Also, if you're going into a high energy process, Swami would have us run the arrows before we entered into a process to deflect any of the negativity. So that's also another thing. If you're going into a high process situation, you can use that for protection. Because I've worked in the OR for a while, when things start going south, I start running the arrows because I've seen how powerful these are to use in circumstances to get things back on track. So they're a very powerful tool in our arsenal of mantras to use. And so it's very helpful. Like Doreen was saying, it's really helpful. I had mine on an index card. So I'd carry that around in my purse so that I had it until I really learned them and had them down. So that's another helpful point.
All right, so Kalsiki, let me just ask you, when you were saying that you do one bead of your mala is all 9, and then
Correct.
the next bead is all 9. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then also Swami did have us add as the last arrow our personal mantra, but you want to never say that one out loud if you're doing anything. So that is, he added that later on, is to add your personal mantra at the end of all 9.
Yeah, I mean, that's an alternative way to do it. I mean, you can also do one mala of each arrow, like when you're charging it. If you don't have the full time to do all 9 arrows, like one mala of each, it's good to actually do it that way, where you do all 9 mantras on one bead. That way, if you have to stop after 15 beads you've done, it's like it's balanced energy. The other thing about when you're doing mantras, I just wanted to add, they are arrows. So when you're saying them, each line should be like an arrow. There's no pause. And so it's not, because it loses its effectiveness. So it's not Om Namo Nam Namah Shivaya. It's like one arrow. because you're throwing that. It's Om Namo Nam Namah Shivaya. You have to get through all the bijas, because you're literally throwing an arrow. And that's why it works so powerfully for something specific. Because like Paul was demonstrating, it's like you're pulling an arrow literally, and you're throwing an arrow of energy. So if you can be really specific about your target, and you're doing it with a powerful intention without a break in the bijas, so you're throwing an arrow of energy. So I remember that came up as an issue years ago, because sometimes, we just get into the habit of doing mantras and we naturally break them. But it's more powerful when it goes like an arrow. There's no break in the line. And Anju did the perfect demonstration. Yeah, your presentation was great. Thank you.
Yeah, great information. I did not know that information was in the Sai Shakti healing book, so that's good to know, to go pull it up.
And it's at page 62 and 63, Sparrow.
Well, I would like to add some things if it's okay with you guys.
Please.
Yes. Well, I did different spiritual schools, so I learned some things. And for me, everything is united together. I don't see, how you say, separation in anything we do. Everything is linked and united. As a student of a Sufi school and Kabbalah school as well, we study the letters, we study the vowels, we study the sounds. And as a musician, and I did a lot of research about sound and music, and in particular sound, what does sound does for us? What does it mean noise? What does it mean soothing sound? And so on and so forward. If we use any word in any language, and how do we combine this together? So I find a lot of similarity. 25 years back when I came to India, I learned some of the Sanskrit, and the first thing it was a, u, u, I, this is the letters. And suddenly it was like, oh, that sounds like Arabic. Oh, that sounds like Hebrew. Oh, that sounds like this, like that. It was like, how is that? I was very confused at that moment. It took me 25 years to understand some of it. Still, I'm working on that, But for example, if we take the mantra is like, we have Om Nam, and if we take just the only word Nam, and we divide it, and we will see it's Na, Nun, Na sound, A sound, sound, Ooh. And if we go deeper and try to understand what is this sounds, what do they do for us? What do they do for our cells? Now I'm a person who takes a mantra, and I would keep on reciting so much that every cell of my body will start, how you say, vibrating crazily. You see, this is called unity with the sound itself. That's the aim of perhaps every spiritual student. Not all does that, that's fine, but it is possible. Now, if we take the first sound is Nun, it's presented in Christianity as a fish. And the fish meaning, it is, matter. And if we take the Ah sound, Ah is the first sound in the Arabic, Hebrew, Aleph, sound. In Sanskrit, Ah also, Ah is the first sound, Ah. And it is the truth, the sounds of the truth. And where this truth comes from, in spirituality, they speaks about water, speaks about mother. We define these things in different things, and it happens to be mem. In Hebrew, mime, it is water. In Arabic, ma is also water. So I don't know, you see, pani is in Hindi, but that is also different. But it refers to the matter and fluid, the letter mem. And if we take the U sound, it goes in the cosmic energy in what we call, Sutran. That's the planet Sutran. And it is U sound, and that is unity. So if we look at the Nama or Namo, And we can see it is backward. As Swami speaks about going backward, we can see O, from mu, Om. Then we have Om, An. So from the uniting fluid, mother, to truth, it becomes tangible. That's what I understand it. That is a very, in a different level in the word. It is not, you know, it is there, it's everywhere. It's in Sanskrit, it's in Arabic, it's in Hebrew. I did not learn Swahili yet, but maybe if I learn, it would be there as well. So you see, it doesn't matter what tradition you belong to, what religion you belong to, it's all the same. So that's what made me understand. So when I see the mantras itself, and I say, Om, Mam, Yamatara Jabana Salagam. In the Arabic language, when you say Ya, it means you are calling somebody. That is the highest consciousness. So now when Swami used Ya, that also again, Om is the creation, is everything. That's the first sound. Creation starts with Ya. Again, Ma, Ta, and so on and so forward. You know, if we will go through this whole 9 arrows, you know, it will take ages to explain each letter of that and go deeper into it. But, you know, it is also good to go deeper into all of this to understand the energy, not just, you know, in the brain, feel it, practice it. That's what I feel myself. Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you, Spiro. And, you know, Swami had said that, you know, there's an ocean of knowledge. And, you know, most of us have time for just one drop, right? So you're taking the bucket there. And I think you're right. Exactly. I think that, you know, we could keep on going deeper and deeper and deeper. But maybe you did remind me of something that maybe I didn't say, which is this idea of seed syllable and bijakshara or bija. These are the seeds, you know, that of creation, really, you know, and that's what you're getting at right here. So there's so many levels. So thank you for bringing that in. For sure.
Hello, can I have some questions? Hello, I don't hear anything. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
please share.
Hearing you.
Okay, so today I hear the first time in my life of the 9 arrows. So you were speaking about like charging them. Is this like a 41-day process, or is it this new moon thing on one day? Is there or is there both?
This is a lifetime.
Pardon?
It's a lifetime.
Yeah, but
You can do it for the rest of your life.
So what she's wanting
There's
you
no timing. So what you can do is you can basically just do it. You can do it how and as much as your soul or your lifestyle or your desires, like that. So the idea is that you get these bijas, these mantras in your soul, so they'll run themselves. I've had that happen. All the mantras, they'll start running themselves in you. So let's say you have a big desire to really get these 9 arrows in your bag of tools, right? So then you make a commitment. You make a real commitment. You say, okay, every new moon from midnight till, he says midnight to 2 a.m. In all honesty, I did it probably till 1:30. An hour, 2 hours, right? Whatever you can do, there's different levels. It depends on you, what you want, what your desires are, what your goals are, like that, right? So these are amazing. This is an amazing tool. I will tell you that from my own personal experience. So if you have the strong desire, that's what starts it. Then you go, okay, every new moon, I'm gonna do these arrows. I've got my piece of paper. You only have to be outside for the first 5 minutes, it says. You can go inside. So it's easier than Mahakali, where you're outside the whole time. So I'll tell you a little personal information about when I was charging these really, it's when you get a power spot. And Panaconda, then this is your Diksha, right? So I was living downtown in a small town, but I was living right downtown. And I had a big porch, one of those classic bungalow porches on a house. And so at midnight I would go out there, and I'm like right downtown. I don't have any fences or anything. I'm right on the corner of like, and so I'd be out there, and usually where I live in California, it gets cold at night. So I'd be doing, midnight, I'd go out every new moon, every full moon, new moon, 9 arrows, full moon, Mahakali. I was very dedicated. And then the drunks would start coming by from the bars on foot, and they'd start using the F-bomb, and they couldn't see me because I was on a porch, a big porch. And so I'd be there doing my mantras, and I'd have my blanket around me. And then the drunks are all walking home from the bars after they're all drunk, saying F you this and, all the stuff. And I don't know, drunk talk. So it was kind of funny, actually it was the juxtaposition between the Maya and the world that we live in. So I think, does that answer your question? Like, if you don't have time, you put it off for later, and maybe you hit one and miss one and like that, but there's no exact thing where you have to do any of this. Like, actually, one of the things Swami did say is, you don't have to do any of this. You can go and have your life. All of this is a choice you're making. So I hope that answered him.
I am somebody who always make things double correct. So I just want to know if is there a 41-day process with them, or just this new moon Diksha?
Every new moon.
So
So there's
not-
no like 41 moons or 41 new moons or 100 new moons or 12 new moons. No, it's like, it's a lifelong thing if you choose it. Now, he did do some things where he said, do 3 new moons in a row or 4 new moons, but this one.
And then it is this system, like you said, like you do one mala, one time you do all the 9, and after 1 mala each, trying to, like this.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is then the charging process. And after you said you can use them when you know them. So that means you know them by heart after maybe one of these new moon days you did it, then you know them by heart, and then you can use them also for others, right?
You can learn these even off of new moon days. So let's say you want to just start using them, just make a card and start going through them, because they're a little challenging at first. So just make a card and just start going through them and learning them. And then you just do, like we talked about on the new moon, you do your arrows, because that's connecting to the Shiva energy. And then for times that are challenging, you have those arrows to use to help you, through those difficult times, or help others through difficult times. So you can just write up a card, and you can just start learning them. And then you do your mala on the new moon, or malas, however way you want to do it.
Imagine it like this. You're invoking the energy associated with each one of these arrows. It's like an angel. And you're calling out to these divine forces and these divine vibrations in nature to come into your life. And after a while, when you are really repeating it you go from a gross level to a subtle level. I mean, that's what this path is really about. It's about going from the gross level to the super subtle, super causal level. And when they say that when you need to have it be part of you, it literally is that. Your soul is connected to the vibrations that are associated with these positive arrows and the angels that are associated with those arrows. So just imagine, you spend like a year just kind of constantly repeating, and you establish a relationship, right? You're establishing a relationship on a soul level, on a subtle level, your soul to this energy. So that when you're out in the world and a situation comes out where there is, a person that's having a bad day and they're really being angry at you, through interacting with your soul through these energies, you're invoking that arrow, and you're like a superhero. You're like one of these. You're like one of these. These comic book superheroes. I'm gonna take it out. Boom! Not in a negative way, but you have tools, and you have to understand that, along with these bijas is an energy, and you're sharing this only for the positive outcome of a person or a situation. So, it's like I have a relative, she's always negative. But when I'm in her presence, I'm repeating silently to myself, I'm actually invoking that energy and that angel to come and heal that person, or release that person from the pain that they're experiencing. Or, sometimes I'm having a really challenging day, and I'll sit down and I'll just repeat the mantras to get myself in balance and to decharge and release and let go, and to put a protection circle around me from the negativity that I've encountered through my day. I mean, you could do it while you're making pizzas, Spiro, and you could just kind of put all those positive vibrations into the pizzas, and they'll never know what actually hit them. They left, they go, God, this is the best pizza I have ever had. I came in with a really bad mood, but it must have been the wine. It must have been the pizza.
I do that all the time, Mr. Paul. It's great.
So we can use it for ourselves.
That does remind me of,
What?
it reminds me of Casey used to deliver pizzas for money, for a living. And he would definitely do that when he was delivering those.
You laugh, but the reality is that we are, as a group, in that implementation phase. Whatever it is, I mean, if there's a part of your life that you want to improve, the arrows will help you. If you've got depression, the arrows will help you. If you're stuck in your life, the arrows will help you. If you are dealing with a block or an emotion that is you can't seem to get out of your system, the arrows will help you. Because as you cut through the layers of negativity within you, then you have more capacity to help other people. You can't help somebody if you're depressed. I tried doing that, and that was just stupid. I was just sharing more of my illusions. So, working on ourselves is okay, but you have to hold it in a higher context of implementation. How are you going to, every situation is an opportunity to practice these tools.
There was something with maximum 9 times. What was this?
Doreen, Anju?
So this was one of the things that Swami had put in the editors. Swami approved everything that was in the healing book. And it was something that I did want to kind of grind out a little bit, because I don't really understand it so much. You can use the 9 arrows a maximum of 9 times each. It's finished when it no longer works. You'll know it when you're on the job. So that was a bullet point that was in the Sai Shakti healing book. And, I can say what I think it means. I'm kind of interested in what Mohini and Paul think it means. Well, I think I already shared what I thought it meant. I think it just means like when you're in the acute situation and you're using it. But If you guys want to comment on that.
Paul, did you want to add to that?
I was hoping that, I mean, yeah, I can think about what it means. I have to go back to that and just kind of look at it. But I think that has to do with, you know, you have 9 arrows, you only use 8. So you always keep it in reserve. You never use all 9 arrows for any one particular situation. That's how I understood it.
This is 2 different points. I have the book here, and it's 2 different points.
Mhm.
The one says,
Yeah, so I think it might help if I read in that on page 63 in the Sai Shakti Healing book, it had these bullet points. And I think it'll be helpful if I read these again. And then, you know, if we have time or if people want to, I see we're kind of a lot over time, but we could go deeper on these bullet points. I mean, but these 9 arrows wash out 90% of your karmas. That's 1. Number 2, they give stamina and high energy. Number 3, you can use the 9 arrows a maximum of 9 times each. It's finished when it no longer works. You'll know it when you're on the job. So that to me says that in an acute situation, you're pulling it out, you know, you're at the protest and people are starting to beat each other up or whatever. You can use the 9 arrows thousands of times for your students, but never use all 9 for one student. Keep 1 in reserve. And you can use the 9 arrows to really pull any soul to help a person whose life is crushed, heartbroken, a tragedy. You can lift it. So these were the bullet points that were given at the end of the section on page 63. Right.
Yeah, that was always I mean, that's how
So
always
you can use
understood it too. Doreen, I agree with you. I mean, that's sort of how I always interpreted it. That when you're using the arrows as a healing or in an acute situation, so you're sitting down and there's one particular problem that you're working on, then you would use the arrow to alleviate that problem. But you can use it as much as you want for your students. You can use it as much as you want for yourself, more generally. But when you're sitting down and shooting it like an arrow for something specific, that was my understanding. And then people used to bring up, they were always concerned that they would run out of arrows. And Swami said, don't worry about it. You're not going to run out. Because, you know, mostly you're going to be working, there are a lot of different techniques he gave. And, you know, we can use it a lot endlessly for students. So that's already a big chunk of what we do use it for.
So just so I'm reiterating. So if you're sitting down to use it for a specific thing, you should only chant that one mantra or that one arrow 9 times and then switch to something else if it's not working. Because I've never done it like that.
Chant it 9 times? No. You just.
No, that's not what it's saying.
Yeah, no. I mean,
That's
Spiro,
what it sounds like as it's written, but that's why I'm asking, clarifying, because I've never done it like that. I've only used it until it no longer seems like it's necessary. And then if some other arrow decides to pop in, then I will switch to that one if needed.
Yeah,
Spiro,
that's
did you
it.
want to add?
So this is the way I'm thinking of it. And so let's say, for instance, let's give an example. Let's say I decided, which I'm not doing, but let's say I decided that I was going to go to one of those protests that's happening, you know, in San Luis Obispo or wherever. And so this is a situation where it's not going to be a 5-minute process. Let's say it's a 3-hour protest, right? And I'm down there, I'm probably going to be running the arrows. Absolutely. If I go to something like that, I'm just straight off, going to go straight into it. So this is a situation where you have a long time where you might be running them for 3 hours or something like that, right? You can use the 9 arrows a maximum of 9 times each. So I start off with Om Namo Namah Shivaya, and then Narayana comes up, and then Nandini Rupi comes up, right? And so I keep running them, and then, you know, you could run through all nine times. That's a kind of the way I'm interpreting it. It's an acute situation where you're needing to run them for a really long time, and then you use them a maximum of 9 times each. And then it's finished, because he says it's finished when it no longer works. You really have to be able to feel the energy to work with it like this. And I know some people are better at it than others, but you're having, you know, I'm running Namah Shivaya, it doesn't feel like it's working anymore. The next one arises. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Right. See, I would look at it a little bit differently. So, like if in that situation, if I was down where the riots were, I'm running the arrows. I'm pulling that energy in. Okay. So I'm just pulling that energy to that situation, and the energy automatically shifts the vibration. Okay. But if I have a client that I'm working with who has like illusion after illusion after illusion, okay, in their life, and I sit down and I say, okay, I'm going to use the 9 arrows on them to interrupt that illusion. And I sit and do a healing on them. Okay. And I pull an arrow. And so I take, let's say, the first arrow, the second arrow, and I'm using that energetically with them. And I'll keep using it. I finish. I see if there's an effect on the situation. Okay. If not, I can try again. It's the same arrow. Okay. If that doesn't work, then I switch to another arrow. And I'll try, because each arrow is different. So like the, you know, there's some that has a little bit more Vishnu energy, which is, you know, more in the world operating. There's some that's more Shiva. So everyone has a different, you know, effect because of the kind of energy it has. So then, you know, I go back with that client, I'll try a second arrow. And I might try it for a few healing sessions, but I'll use the same arrow. And then if it's not working, then I may try a different one. So that's more pointed for a specific problem. And that's always how I've used the arrows. But if I'm in a volatile situation, then I will just chant the energy and it brings in that vibration. It's different. So, and that's always worked for me. I mean, it will shift the energy because you're chanting the vibration. So you're automatically, as you chant, you're pulling it and you're vibrating it. But I'm not aiming it as an arrow.
So what you're saying is that when you're in situations where it's just a general vibrational shift, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
You can do all 9 arrows and not have to worry about the arrows to be wasted, right?
That's always been my take of how I do it. Yeah.
Now, but when you're focusing it in on a specific person,
Mm-hmm.
you only do 8 arrows, let's say, out of the 9, correct?
At most, and I might not do all of them.
Right.
I might stop at the first arrow, or if it doesn't work, then I'll go to the second, or I might want to work with the 5th.
So let me ask you a question. If you're in a, you know, how I've done it is if I'm in a environment where there's a protest going on, you know, I'll just do those vibrations for myself. But then if I see a situation where there is danger or if there's any type of negative looting or something like that, I will use 1 or 2 or 3 arrows on that particular situation. You follow what I'm saying? It's when you're implementing it as opposed to, you know, if you want to change the vibrations of an area, you can do the arrows just to kind of shift the vibrations of the area. But when you're focusing it on a specific, where you're really directing a specific energy on a person or a situation or an environment, you can use like 1, 2, 3, up to 8 arrows, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, also there are so many, you know, it's like you said, you know, different arrows have different vibrational frequency. If somebody's having financial issues and they have a lot of issues regarding karma or anything around the Vishnu type of environment, you know, I'll use 1 arrow as opposed to, you know, associated with Vishnu as opposed to Shiva. You follow what I'm saying? And it's all about, you know, all these tools are about alchemizing and shifting the energy. it's just different tools. You know, I've used a lot of times the sky mantra in extremely intense situations, and it's like the Gara Lakanta is like the is activated, and then the poison is just vaporized, you know. And it also goes into Hanuman, you know. It's like we oftentimes, you know, rely upon that Hanuman channel. You know, I'm just trying to broaden our understanding of how these tools can be used, and experimenting with our channels to be able to do that. So, Suzanne, it may seem overwhelming for you. I mean, I can understand it. You know, it's like bijas. What's ya? What's ma? What's ta? You know? However, when you start implementing these vibrations, you'll see that it'll change you, and it'll change the people around you, and it'll also change situations, going from a negative to a positive. You follow what I'm saying? As an example, the power of these mantras. I know we're a little bit over, and I thank everybody for being patient, but these are really important points, because this is the consciousness that's awakening in all of us as to what Swami was trying to enact in our lives. As Yama Ta. Okay, Ta. What the hell is this Ta? Ta 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 ta. One of the most powerful.
We talked about it.
What?
Why I shared, it's the heart.
Yes,
Ta is the heart.
exactly. So when you start thinking about it, that if you know, in spirituality, Suzanne, if your heart chakra is not open, the energy will never flow. You can do 10 billion mantras, but until that chakra and the bija in that chakra is opened, nothing will flow in your life. And Swami said, as an example, the Ta Bijas is linked to the earth element. And through the earth element, it's linking to the Guru Parampara, which is the invocation of the divine souls and the divine beings into your life through the heart chakra. And that's why these bijas are so important, because it's all designed to open you up. Once you're open, then you can pull that energy into you. Any heartbreak that you have, that's why Swami focused so much on healing heartbreak. Because when you heal the heartbreak, your heart becomes open once again. Because at one point in time, as a child or as a young adult, our heart was in wonderment and in awe of the world around us, because we were in communion with the angels. But then we received heartbreak where we closed down. So it all comes back to the Swami system. Thank you for allowing me to share that, everyone.
Spirit?
Well, you know, it
can-
is.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Please go ahead. Can I say
This
something?
is from.
Ramya, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say something really quick. I may have been tending to the fire and this was already said, but one of the things that Swami said about the arrows, that the 9 arrows were nothing but the 9 planets. Did you talk about that, Doreen?
Yeah.
You did?
She mentioned that earlier.
Okay. So that's how our karmas, so that's why when we practice them, our karmas, because the planets are the agents of our karmas, so our karmas are burned by using them. So I just, as somebody who does astrology, that's just super important. Okay, great, thanks.
Well, you know, for me, it is, we have to understand the mental and the emotional aspect of that according to different energies, and we can refer to it as planets, chakras, whatever. We can also look at it in a different way. We can say, okay, electricity, we cannot see electricity. But if we look at the lamp, then without electricity, the lamp has no light. So we need to put on the electricity, and then the light will just shine. So the mantra, it is in my way, it is like, you know, putting on the electricity. And once the electricity is there, then you can feel the vibration, and it comes into your mental and emotional aspects of your life. So in this way, we can, you know, lift ourselves from, you know, the Maya, the illusion, to the truth sense of the identity of I, by taking ignorance away and understanding who is that energy, where this energy comes from, and who is that light. I am the light, and the energy is within me. That is what we refer to it as God, refer to it as you, I, so on and so forward. If we look at the water and the chemical, it's H2O. We have the H and two O's. So these two things becomes together, so we have the water. Without this combination together, there's no water. If we separate them, then there is no unity. So mantra, it will give us the unity. 9 planets is within us to invoke. And as Mr. Paul, you know, mentioned it many times, it is positive energies. That's what we call angels. They are there to protect us, to help us. And our ignorance, my ignorance, you know, it is blocking the whole thing. These sounds will open up the channels in me, and suddenly I will see things more clear. That's my aspect for any mantra a person does. And it's just great. Thank you.
So as Doreen mentioned, this is an ocean. So because we're now half an hour over, if you are so inclined, dig deeper into the knowledge, you know, you can get on kalishwar.org. There's information there that you can go, if you have books or the transcripts or anything, then, or if you want to share via, you know, sending it, and then we can send it to the group if you've come across anything that you'd like to share. So we can also do that as well as we continue to move into this ocean of knowledge that Swami gave us, as well as, you know, the many aspects that are come together as we start our unfolding. So next week is Andrea's group Sky Mantra. Okay, great. So this week we'll be using the arrows, 20 minutes. What is the intention? Did you guys come up with an arrow, an intention arrow?
Our group did not. No, we didn't talk about that. I didn't really know we were supposed to.
Okay, Spiro.
I would like to say that, you know, a very good intention will be removing ignorance within every person, to understand, and not just understand, to feel, to understand, to become one with this beautiful arrows. So our cells vibrate. I recommend that, you know, 20 minutes, all the arrows, it's a bit confusing. If we take 40 times each arrow, so it will be like 9 arrows, every arrow 40 times. That's, or 41 times. It can also be that as well.
So not, yeah. So you don't want to do just like 20 minutes and we can, how does everybody feel about that intention? Or do we want to send it out to the world to remove the ignorance in all? That, which is what we are trying to do, remove the ignorance and the negativity that's keeping us bound from knowing our true selves. Because we're trying to wake up the planet or help the planet.
I'm wondering about that 40 number. I think it's good because, I mean, the arrows help to move negativity, right? But I'm wondering about the 40 number. What is the 40? Why do each one 40 times? I'm kind of curious about that. Spiro, I'm asking you.
Well, you see, it is very funny. 40, it repeats itself in all traditions. We have, you know, Moses, 40 days in the mountain. We have Jesus, 40 days, you know, fasting. We have Muhammad in the mountain 40 days. Everybody's doing 40 days. And if we understand the human body and we understand the creation of the human in the mother womb, it will take 40 days before the heart becomes to say boom, pumping. So it takes 40 days, so the energy is you're just starting. This is just the starting. After the 40 days, keep on doing madness. You know, actually, Mr. Paul is always right. He don't live with me, but he's right. He's my guru. I love you, Mr. Paul. You know, you see, I do nothing else. The only thing I do is work because it's a duty. I have to look after my kids. I play my music because I love that. I do my Kung Fu, Wing Chun as well. And I do mantra all day long. And sometimes I see movie because my wife wants that. So we do that. So do it. Just do it. Don't worry. Whatever comes, just do
Okay,
it.
so that's it. Yeah, so I mean, Swami had us doing 41-day processes. You know, he used that number 40 also, either 40, 41 or 101. So anyway, I just was curious to see what you had to say about that. And yeah, I'm into it.
The distance between the moon and the earth is 108. This is what is the distance. That's why we are making 108 mala, or what to say, seeds. In the Sufis, it is 101. It is 99. Because number one is the Ahad, is the only one. Everything is one. The water, once it is divided, there's no more water. It has to come together to become one.
But see, it's 108.
So then we would.
But it's I'm sorry, it's 108 plus 1 for the guru. So it's 40 plus 1 for the guru. In
So what
terms of,
Yeah,
Marini.
okay, good.
So
So
how-
then we would run all arrows 9 times. We would run all the arrows once, right? Just to reiterate how we're using them. So one time run through all 9, and then each one 40 times.
Or we
To remove
just
the
do 20
negativity.
minutes, make it
Sure.
easy. 20 minutes running through all arrows.
I think that 20 minutes is probably the best way to approach it.
Minutes running through all arrows.
And when you do 40 minutes, you do like 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, like this?
No, all arrows.
Yeah, just keep
Just
cycles.
run through all the arrows and keep recycling for 20 minutes, however many that comes up to be for you. But just the 20 minutes, make it easy. With the intention, okay, we gotta go back to the intention, to sending this out to remove the ignorance, both within inside of ourselves as well as everyone on the planet, to recognize our oneness with the divine and each other.
I would say to remove ignorance and negativity, because that's what
Yeah.
it's designed for.
Okay.
To remove the,
Ignorance and negativity on the planet.
to remove the ignorance and negativity within and around us. And then if you want to practice it, just follow the Diksha. If you come across situations, one part is charging it, which is the 20 minutes. And then the other part is practice, implement, use it, channel the energy, see how it feels. You won't know what you've received unless you actually see the reflection outside.
So that's our intention. Everybody's good with that? Okay, so we will do the closing mantras. Anybody, please feel free to dig deeper. And then we'll resume next week with Andrea's group and the Sky Mantra. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Everybody have a blessed week. We'll see you next week.